Respected Vice Chancellor, dear Pro-Vice Chancellor Bill Chambers, dear Dean, my esteemed colleagues, friends from the Church, from Manchester, Tamil Fellowship, Bible study groups, church members from All Saints, and fellow believers and scholars from the Diocese of Liverpool, and ladies and gentlemen, to all of you, I say, Vanakkam. Greetings. That's how we in South India greet each other in my language, Vanakkam. I consider it's a great honor today to be with you and to share with you some of the things that I have been thinking for a long time about missionary discussions in the West. And it is very appropriate that my teacher, Mr. Norman Archer, is here. And he was the one who introduced me to Tranquebar, the word Tranquebar. In my language, it is Tarangambadi. So he asked me in 1978 in a church history class, do you know Tranquebar? We were all young people at that time. So I said, no such thing ever existed in my country. I did not know that it was the English corruption of a Tamil word Tarangambadi. But who knew that I would spend the rest of my academic life studying this wonderful mission, Tranquebar, the Royal Danish Halle Mission. And I am very grateful to my alma mater, Martin Luther University, especially to my Habil father, Obst and Zames, and the Franca Foundations for deputing my dear colleague, Daniel Siranga, all the way to come from there here to represent these two great institutions. When I say the Martin Luther University, that is the university where Martin Luther taught earlier, and 300 years ago it was shifted. So, I am not going to read my lecture today because it is a long paper, but what I want to do is to highlight some of the points so that we can grapple with the issues that are facing world Christianity, especially about the holistic nature of mission. As already mentioned, thank you for your introduction, Bill. I grew up, spent 14 years of my life in Christian mission service. 1977 to 1980 were the crucial years. I saw Indians taking care of orphan children 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, not only for 1 or 5 years, for 25 years in some cases. I asked the question, what is the power that stands behind this great change, transformation in the life of 7,500 children, of whom I am one? There was no dichotomy between what people were preaching and what people were living, because we could see them every day. Then in the Bible College in Pune, for the first time, I realized the kaleidoscopic nature of Christianity. All were Indians, but in different colors. Like me, brown from the south, white people from Kashmir area, and people who look like Japanese and others, Mongolians from northeast India. I thought, this is a beautiful country. And how nice would it be heaven when people from different cultures live together in harmony. Again, I could not see big dichotomy between what Christians preached and lived. Later on, I began to study the history of mission from European perspectives in Halle for the first time. That is the place where I came to grapple with this issue. Because most of the policymakers did not know what was going on in India, but were prescribing methods and policies to be followed. And they were arguing, breaking their heads. It did not work for a long time. So my first point, what I'm going to share with you is in 5 subheadings. I will introduce briefly some basic concepts. Why has the West failed to learn enough from non-Western experiences? All the time they look to themselves instead of looking to others from that experience as how they could have gained a lot. So my first point is an Indo-German example. It is about a man called Bartholomew Ziegenbalg. In 1716, he wrote a letter to one of his secretaries. Christian mission cannot be divorced in two different parts. The service to the soul is inseparably linked to the service to the body. If you divide it, then it is no Christianity. You know whether the officials respected him? No. They said, apostles never built a church. Jesus was not married. They never settled down in one place. They never bothered to translate the gospel into different languages. Why are you all these things? So their concept of apostolic mission ideal did not have any space for intercultural communication of the gospel. So they put hindrances, and Ziegenbalg died. Before that, he did not give it up. I will try to educate the West from non-Western perspective, because he was the one who believed that he was going to a barbaric people, uncivilized people who did not have a decency in their life. Oh, when he reached Madras and also Tamil Nadu, people told him, remember, you are showing one finger at us, but three fingers point at you. Christians are the foolish people and the most uneducated people here on earth. And you are coming to teach us your religion. We are not going to listen to you. Go, first of all, clean your door before you come and tell to us. Tell to your Europeans, first of all, to change. Ziegenbalg said, claims of superiority, arrogance, and pride is not going to create friendships. So he started to consider them as friends. In Tamil, since my Tamil friends are here, Nanbar, Snehidar. From that time onwards, local people began to translate their language to him, told him the secrets about the culture, and began to write. He became a transformed person. In 1708, he sent a letter containing translation of 3 ethical works in Tamil to the Europeans, especially to the Germans, pietists. Please publish it so that people can correct their view about Indians. But the recipients in Halle, they said, no, it's not going to happen, because if they had published, they would question all their presuppositions. Because this particular ethical work comes from 2nd century AD, and the Germans did not have scripts in those days. All their assumptions and presuppositions will shatter, and they were afraid. Instead of saying that directly, they told, we cannot find Christ in this writing, so we don't want to publish it. See, non-theological factors influencing theological assumptions. But he kept on sending material. And what happened? For about 150 years, these great works were not published. Whenever he wrote, Tamil people or the non-Western people are equals to the Westerners, they suppressed it. They were afraid that this kind of claim will jeopardize their fundraising efforts and missionary activities. So Indo-German example tells a large degree of unwillingness in the minds of 18th century Germans and Danes, unwillingness to learn from non-Western people. So, if that's the case, how is it today? In the 19th and 20th century, that will be my second point. Evaluating major approaches to mission. In the 19th century, as you know, Great Britain and North America, especially United States, woke to mission call. They said, we want to send missionaries to different parts. Yes, they had that zeal. But their policies were made either in London or in Boston. So I'm going to share with you a person called Peter Parker. He was the first medical missionary to go to China. A very brilliant man, hailing from a very ordinary situation. Studied medicine and went there and practiced. But Rufus Anderson, a man who is known for 3 self-formula, that is self-support, self-administration, and self-propagation, he taught. An indigenous church must be self-sufficient. But here is Peter Parker exactly trying to do that, trying to help the Chinese to be self-sufficient. That did not agree with the administrative policy of Rufus Anderson, so he wrote back, "Do not let your medical intelligence or knowledge interfere into your missionary work, in preaching work." So the controversy raged for a long time, and Peter Parker could not agree with Rufus Anderson. He quitted. Instead of being a missionary, he became an American diplomat for a long time and worked for the American government. See again, preaching and practice should go hand in hand. But when people who do not know each other make policies, sometimes they don't work. That is Peter Parker. Later on, in the next part of the 19th century, again, the debate did not die out. We know about the beginnings of young people movement, so YMCA, YWCA, and many others. They said we have to train people as a whole, the whole person. But the church resisted. And in the long run, they have also just shifted their priorities into a different line. In the 20th century, when we see, there were 3 major concerns in the world bodies, Christian bodies. One is world mission. How can we reach out? Second, if churches are coming out, how can we unite them together? Church unity. Third one, how can we practically help people? Social engagement. World mission, church unity, and social commitment. These 3 issues were in the forefront of the discussion in 1910. Then world wars came. They used the weapons that were created in Western countries. Western Christendom, as it was known, began to crumble. Many Western leaders had no moral gut to stand in front of others and say, God is love. They could look back and see German broken cities, devastated streets, and ruined families. They couldn't speak. They did not know what to do. So in 1952, some of the representatives of International Missionary Council met in a village called Wellingen. In that place, they decided, what shall we do? What shall we do? A person by name Hartenstein, Karl Hartenstein, came with a bright idea. Why are you worrying about all this mission, as if it is the church's duty? No, God's duty. God is the one who is doing the mission work. You are only the participants. So they coined the beautiful Latin phrase, Missio Dei. Well, in the West, it sounded beautiful. Many people were so very happy. They left that hall, the conference, with happy faces. But the problem was, they did not know how to implement it. They created mission agencies, huge mission agencies. In the long run, they preferred to give emphasis for diaconia or humanitarian services to kerygma, preaching from the Word of God. So that dichotomy has not yet been resolved. Major attempts have been made because they have been still looking at their own self. And that in the meantime, world has changed greatly. And we have to ask at this time, if the Western world, or the Western churches in particular, have not learned, what might be the reasons? I have noted down several reasons, but I just would like to mention few of them. Why should non-Western people come to European countries or United States? One of them is to consult books, materials in the archives. Places like British Library or Rylands Library in Manchester or in Edinburgh, or Day Mission Library at Yale University, Princeton Library. These are splendid depositories of knowledge. Amazing amount of materials are available, written on non-Western peoples. But the question is, why does not the Western public know about details about non-Western people? Libraries have, depositories have, somehow it doesn't reach. The non-Western people's habit, take for example drinking tea, or wearing cotton cloth, or eating pizza, or wearing dresses dyed with indigo. These were all things that Western people have learned from non-Western countries. Why has not the church learned it? I used to wonder about it. Because when Western people come to us, we give them the first preference. We take them to the first bench and ask them, greet them. But if a non-Western person comes to a Western church, they don't even want to look at them. People who go there for the first time, they do not want to go the second time. I have experienced it for several years, all these about 30 years that I have been in the West, repeatedly in several contexts. That was my question. Why? Why have people have not learned it? What shall we do to build bridges? There was a time in the Western educational system, especially in the 60s and 70s, when religious studies were considered to be irrelevant. Only people who does not have high intelligence were the ones who used to learn religion. So somehow the study of religion has marginalized. And in my conversation with my colleague John Sullivan, he has also explained it to me in one of the situations and gave me a sheet explaining some of the details. So the advocacy of secularists somehow subdued religion. That had direct effect on people's perception of the non-Western world. Churches and missionaries, their reports are splendid. Several missionaries have written detailed reports about non-Western people, like Ziegenbalg, I told. We can mention many others in different denominations. Why has not their reports reached common people in the pews? Again, fear, it seemed to me. The more I began to learn about this reason, the more it came to me, people do not know what to do with the new knowledge. The moment they come to know, oh, non-Western people are also thinking people, then their whole mental picture that they had about other people should change. Their priorities, loyalties, behavior patterns, many things will change. Do Western people like that change? Generally not. Because status quo gives them, at least seems to give them comfort, security for time being, but not for a long time. So the fear somehow hindered them. Friends, I have been on the other side of the mission receiving side. I know what Christian missionaries have been doing. Some of them, like my teacher and other, are Mr. Hostkowski, great people whom I admire. On the other side, I do know also how some people come there on flying visits and write detailed reports about India. Most of the time they will fly there for 3 days, very busy schedule, and after 3 days they will be considered India experts. We used to question it. What kind of scholarship these people can have within 3 days of their flying visits? And what do they tell when they return to their congregation? On this side of the world, I listen to them sometimes. They will tell, the churches are full, people are happy, there is excitement, there is joy in being Christians. But they will put, there also fear. They need our money. They need the way that they need look to us for help. As a result, many people in the congregations do not want to listen to the good things that these preachers come and tell, or the church representatives come and tell. they pick the one that does not challenge them the most. That is news about poverty, corrupt leaders, diseases, wretched condition of the ecological degradation. These are the things that occupy their mind. How can they learn good things from others? My quest did not stop. I am a theologian. I have been working in theological institution all along. So I asked, how does Western theological system contribute to the learning? And my colleague from Germany will know. We all know whenever we study church history, what is the book that we use, Danny? Karl Heusi, Compendium der Kirchengeschichte. So the compendium of Karl Heusi, that book was written in 1906. This person died in 1969. And this book has been reprinted about 18 times. No updates. I was looking for where is my country, India, where Apostle Thomas came. A very brief mention, nothing is there. So Western theological system for a long time considered non-Western Christianity either as appendix or non-existent. Parochial education system, so regional, thinking of themselves. In places of higher learning, many people still think about whenever theologians call Barth. Lot of things are being done. Or Heidegger, Martin Heidegger, Rudolf Bultmann. In my country, in my theological education, we never heard about them. Because our system of thought does not need them at all. Because the questions that these people have asked was not our questions. But we had similar other ones. Has the Western society learned from it? In systematic theology, people will mention it. Martin Dibelius, Rudolf Bultmann, they were all will be studied along with Indian Christian theologians. In Korea, Korean Christian theologians. In China, Chinese Christian theologians. In Japan, like that. So in that way, there is a conversation going on. And somehow, Western theological edifice has not yet created enough space for that kind of intercultural, cross-cultural engagements in theological realm. If the preachers, the vicars, pastors, and bishops have not been trained in that way, how can they educate their members in the church? These are some of the reasons for the big gaps. Not only beginning with the high intelligentsia, but also tripping down to theological education and Western systems of dealing with people from other cultures and their theological achievements. In this case, we move to the fourth point. What can world Christianity do? There is no point in deploring about the missing gaps. We are called to build bridges. World Christianity, friends, is the most pluralistic religion that you can ever imagine of in the world. There is not a single other religion that can claim that question. Translated into almost all existing human cultures. Professed and practiced in all 238 countries. Having literature in their mother tongue. These are some of the achievements world Christianity can help us to see. And also learn from some of the great non-Christian religions, Buddhism and Islam, how they have been dealing with local cultures, issues of poverty, multiculturalism. These are some issues where world Christianity is wrestling with. What kind of insights that it can bring? I would like to suggest few examples, beginning with the doctrine of God. The thing is all cross-cultural and intercultural learnings. Jesus spoke Aramaic. Is the Bible written in Aramaic? No. The New Testament is written in Greek, a translation. So Aramaic ideas was translated to the Greeks, and the Greeks philosophers, they did not know what it meant, the composition of divinity and humanity in Jesus, and Jesus' relation to God. So they used the word homoousios or homaiousios, same substance or similar substance. Well, Greeks living in Constantinople and Latins living in Rome did not understand each other. They began to fight over linguistic problems, cultural differences. All that time, mind you, using theology as an accusation. And ever since, Western Christendom has not given up. They are still reading it. It is good so. We need to learn from history. But history is not only Western Christendom, a little bit more. What can India, for example, teach? We call it Parabara Vastu. Parabara Vastu is a Vaishnavite term. Roberto Di Nobili was the first Jesuit to use it. Currently, many Tamil Lutherans use the word. Parabara is the one that combines all paradoxes for human beings. Heaven, earth, male, female, above, below. All paradoxes that human beings can think of is summarized there. Because God as creator is envisaged as Parabara Vastu. None of these epithets are completely perfect. They lack somewhere when compared to Christian faith. But they do have insights. Parabara Vastu is one thing. Second, about Christ and Christ terminology. How long has European or Western Christianity wrestled with this issue of Kyrios, Lord? We all sing in the churches, Kyrio eleison, or Messiah, the anointed one, and there it stops. But look at for the world in other parts of the world. In Africa, African indigenous churches have taught Jesus is the great ancestor who lives, he is dead, yes, but risen. He is alive. And he is participating in everyday life of human beings. In my family, in my society. I have to consult my ancestor, Jesus being the great ancestor. Wonderful image. In India, Jesus is being looked at Dalit. The person despised by everyone. So that people, most people might say, yes, the word became flesh. But how do you translate it cross-culturally? For a lot of Indians, it is the logos became a Dalit, a crushed personality. A person who can understand my suffering, the pathos, the despair that are going with human existence. What do Koreans do? Koreans use the word Han in their Minjung theology. Han is the word used for human despair. Especially when discrimination, injustice prevail, they go to Han. The idea of Han somehow sustains them. And for them, Jesus is the Han. So we need the world Christianity to bring out the secrets of Christian teachings. One more thing. Atonement. Western theology has told, why should Jesus die on the cross? Oh, to make a payment to the devil. Some said, no. Jesus died in order to make a satisfaction for the legal requirements, just like in the Roman law court. Other theologians said, no, that's also not true. Jesus died on the cross to show the supreme love of God for humankind. That was theory. All these theories have some truth. But look at this example from Africa. When they kill an animal and take the blood and smear it on the cattle, on their forehead, or on the chest, that means, maybe my friend Larry can tell, covenant. Blood sacrifice means covenant. A covenant that can never be broken by the participants. It's the blood relationship that they enter into. Now put that image into Christ's atonement. It is not necessary to appease somebody, because God is God. But it is inviting human beings to enter into unbreakable, irrevocable relationship with God, who chose to die in the form of Jesus Christ. Amazing theories. If only we want to learn, we can learn. Few more examples, then we will move to the next point. We would all learn about biblical hermeneutics. In the olden days, when Hebrew Bible was being printed in Halle in 1720s, there were a lot of dark passages which professors like Kallenberg could not understand. What did he do? He said, missionaries, you are going around the world. Wherever you go, look for opportunities, look for similarities of Old Testament, New Testament events, cultural habits, and give me the details. Yes, Christoph Walter was a missionary who wrote these observations and sent them. Still they are awaiting for somebody to do research in Halle. These similarities. Maybe I'll just mention two similarities and then we'll move. One, we all know about the burning bush and Moses. When Moses approached God on the Mount of Sinai, what is the word that came from God? Moses, remove your shoes, because the ground on which you are standing is holy ground. Many Western scholars are very content to spiritualize this concept. Oh, you have to give up all your material possessions because God is so holy. He cannot accept all material things. They spiritualized it so many times. That's one theory. But look at the example from India. If you would enter our home here in Taggart Avenue, we would ask you, please remove your shoes. Why do we say that? Friend, you are at home. You need not be a wanderer. Take rest. Removing shoe means you are welcome home. You are at home. You are for rest. When God tells this is the holy place, it tells it is a special place. It is a special place. Feel at home in my presence. We can just transfer that Indian experience to translate some of the biblical evidence. The second example that I want to share with you is about camel going through the needle's eye. Isn't it? Oh, how much scholarship has gone into it. As if the needle is the door in the Jerusalem wall and the camels have to unload all their luggages and go inside. Until people came across a word in Aramaic, now in Syriac language, in the Peshitta translation. It tells the word used there can be also translated as rope, ship rope. So you cannot put a small ship rope into a needle for the sewing. It is not possible. That would make sense. So cross-cultural learning is all the time of great importance. If that is the case, what is the role of Andrew Walls Center? What is the role of the chair that this university has chosen to endow and entrust it to me? I see this in the following manners. First, Andrew Walls Center and the professorship in world Christianity are designed to train scholars, leaders from the non-Western parts of the world, and Western scholars to look at the world from non-Western perspective. Because we all see things from our own perspectives. In an intercultural situation, we edify each other, we correct each other, we enrich each other. That is one part. A high level of scholarship given to meticulously issues like this. But what will be our specialty in it? Our specialty is rereading Euro-American mission historiography. Why is it necessary? There are a lot of things are necessary. European authors have written things to satisfy European readership. So they won't publish them. But there are a lot of unpublished reports in archives that illuminate things. Oftentimes, Europeans are being helped by local actors. Even though Ziegenbalg spent 13 years, he is the hero. But who made him a hero? There are unsung heroes and heroines behind him who helped him patiently to learn the language, learn to read Tamil literature. Similarly, the local actors need to come to the word. Who made the Western Christianity and Western missionary agencies great? Some of the local people. That will be one of our emphases. Rereading Euro-American mission history from non-Western perspective so that for mutual edification take place. Second, is the collecting material, ongoing material from non-Western part of the world. Why? And Professor Andrew Walls has been gracious in giving some of his collections, and he said he will give more. But we do know much more than that, because Christianity is growing at a great rate. If only I had time, I would give you all the details. But in summary, there are more Christians living in the non-Western parts of the world than the entire Western Europe and North America put together. For example, there are more Anglicans in Nigeria than in the United Kingdom. Nigeria and Uganda put together. My own denomination, Church of South India, we number 3 million. And then most of them go to church, give, and sustain mission work of the church. So cross-cultural learning, collecting materials from non-Western parts of the world is necessary. Third, annual conferences, where we bring in scholars from different parts of the world for interaction. I have devised a plan for the next 12 years, until 2020, God willing. These themes are, some of them are splendid. I hope you will like them. So at this time, I invite you, friends, to join, to give your ideas. I am infinitely thankful for my colleagues in the theology department for anchoring this center, this whole activity in the department. But I look for also for partnerships, for ideas, for support from across university and from church representatives wherever you are from. I look to you for your support and help. Annual lectures. What we want to do from next year onwards, want to invite a called Andrew Walls Fellow, an eminent scholar who could come here and give a lecture. By the way, next week on Wednesday, we have an Andrew Walls lecture right here. So Christopher Wright, one of my other teachers, he would come, an Old Testament scholar. Please try to be here. You'll enjoy that his speech also. He will be talking about Jeremiah, prophet to the nations. He's a wonderful person. So such events, Andrew Walls fellows will come. What is their duty? It's not only giving them the title, but entrusting with the responsibility. They are going to be our ambassadors wherever they go, to find new research scholars, to put us in touch with people who would be interested in it, and perhaps who might help us financially and otherwise. Partnerships is another one, because the task in front of us is gigantic, daunting. A single institution or a single person cannot do. Networking is very important. So currently we are pursuing networking partnership discussions with several institutions in Asia and in some parts of Africa and in Western Europe and North America. If you have ideas, friends, please give me. And we also look for partnership from the local churches, faith organizations, institutes, so where we could come and help. Study tours is another way. Introducing students from theology, from other parts, inviting members from the churches and taking them for 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks to places like India or to Nigeria or to China, just to see the vibrancy of Christianity and their interaction with people from other faiths and come back and look at their society from a different perspective. That experience has been enlightening for me as I was doing that in the United States. Some of my colleagues have also expressed interest in it. And serving non-Western scholars, church leaders who are so much bowed down by heavy responsibilities and inviting them for a period of rest, especially from troubled regions, maybe for a month. But for that, we would need opportunities and also help. Serving local communities is another big priority. Christians in this Midwest cannot ignore non-Western people any longer. The moment many of them think non-Western people, they think about refugees and asylum seekers. That is not the case. Most of these asylum seekers are come to Western countries because Western weapons have displaced them. Do you know weapon industry is the only industry that makes profit in the Western world now during the financial crunch? If they produce, they need somebody where they use it. Asylum seekers are not the big thing, but students, employees of multinational companies, lawyers, doctors, clergy people, persons, they are all coming here because Western economy, it seems, may not sustain without the help of immigrants from other parts of the world. So there is going to be increasing number of non-Western people in different parts of the West. But are our churches, are our faith communities, are our institutions ready to meet this challenge? And I think in this case, in this particular area, Andrew Walls Center and the professorship here can render some help, some assistance. We would want to help. And finally, let me also say one word about my own research. I have spent almost all my academic career dealing with researching and making the research available to my people in India. That is, one of them told me, after I became a Christian, you have become a traitor to your own country. I asked them, why do you say that? Oh, you joined a group that exploits us. I told them, my dear friend, that is not the case. In my research, I found out lack of material for them in their mother tongue or in an accessible language was the reason for them to come to these uninformed conclusions. So I thought, I must spend my energy, as long as God gives me strength and health, to translate, to procure material and make it accessible. Now, having come to this university, that arena has widened. It is not only India, but my friends from Africa and from other parts of Asia. So the materials that are available here should be somehow made available. So I am planning to do some translation work. That was one of the reasons why I decided not to publish my books in the West. So expensive. Ordinary people cannot buy it. Even libraries cannot buy it. But they are being made available to different parts. What shall we say about the conclusion? Just permit me to read my concluding word. In my language, we have a Veda that is called Tirukkural. Tirukkural, the holy sayings, short sayings. In that, one phrase comes, Muyarchi Tiruvinayakum. Would you all say with me, Muyarchi Tiruvinayakum? I will tell the meaning afterwards. Muyarchi Tiruvinayakum. Try? Yeah. Muyarchi Tiruvinayakum. It means good efforts taken over a sustained period of time will produce the desired effect. Not haphazard events. Systematic undertaking of good efforts will create good effects. Muyarchi Tiruvinayakum. Yes, the task is huge before us, but together we are strong. I hope we will do and set some examples. Christian mission involves the whole person. Therefore, service to the soul and service to the body are inseparable. The practicalities of this ideal are so demanding that they need the insights, thoughts, and examples, resources of world Christianity. Policymakers in Western Christian mission institutions can no longer make unilateral decisions. They should consult the viability of their policies with those who are working on the ground. Policies that are practicable in one place at a given time might not work in a different context. Therefore, flexibility and constant relearning are important. As mentioned above, in the body of Christ, we need each other for mutual learning, correction, growth, and enrichment. Christians in the non-Western world have been learning from Euro-American missionaries for a long time, and they are growing at a significant rate. Now time has come for Christians in Euro-American contexts to learn from the best experiences and practices of non-Western Christians. Andrew Wall's Center for the Study of African and Asian Christianity can assist in intellectual learning and help to enhance the spirit of complementarities and companionships. The real question is, are Euro-American Christians ready and willing to learn from non-Western Christians? Are non-Western Christians ready and willing to help their fellow Christians in the West to regain confidence in the life-transforming power of the gospel of Jesus Christ? Is our Christianity large enough to include all people of God to participate in the blessings of God, especially during these trying times of economic crunch, increasing terror and killings in our own neighborhoods? I look for the day when the mainline Christian congregations in the West will draw insights from world Christianity, overcome fears and suspicions, transcend denominational, cultural, and social barriers, and take their Christian faith seriously, worship God, and serve all human beings as God's children. May that day come very soon. I thank you for your attention.
This is your name and also the title of tonight's lecture. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. May I say one word? Friends, thank you for all your support. And I have been thinking about my mother, who never went to school, but rejoiced. And next also my wife and my children. Ruth used to tell, all the time he was studying about Ziegenbalg. So she has grown up with Ziegenbalg, so to say. So I'm very, very grateful to everyone who has played a significant part in my life. And as we go out, please find literature about our theology department and also about our Andrew Wall Center. They are on to your left side. Feel free to take the details and support us as much as you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.